Welcome to Midnight Pavilion. Loose folk horror stories for you. Under the Moth Mountain in Kowloon, Guangdong North, there is a seemingly ordinary public village, Victory Village. However, on the edge of this bustling city, hidden a dark story, a bloody family tragedy, a head that has never been found, and countless legends about wandering souls make this one of the most famous music villages in Hong Kong. This ordinary residential building, but because of the 2008 horrible murders, becomes synonymous with nightmares. The elevator at midnight, empty cry, blood on the wall. All the legends, all point to a unit on the 20th floor. Until today, the car is still shrouded in a strange atmosphere. If it were you, standing alone in front of the elevator in this building at midnight, facing that creepy 20th floor, will you press that button? Let's unveil Victory Village together tonight. The horrifying truth about downstairs, at the foot of the mountain in Kowloon, Guangdong North. Victory Village quietly handles the edge of the city. This area was once a forgotten wasteland. Cemetery No. 7, because decades ago, where the bones were stacked, with the advance of the urbanization wave in Hong Kong in the 1980s, Chile was redeveloped into a public village, become an important living area. The name of Victory Village sounds a symbol of prosperity and hope. However, the dusty past, but always whispering in the dark. The wind of Moth Mountain always carries a cold. Even in summer, it also makes people unconsciously wrap themselves in clothes. Residential buildings in Victory Village rise up according to a regular plan. Among them, the Lijiang building is particularly ordinary. Concrete exterior wall, neatly arranged windows. It's like being part of countless other neighborhoods. But his stories were never ordinary. In the early years of it used to be one of the busiest buildings in Victory Village. All kinds of people live here. There is an older generation of laborers working in nearby factories. There are also young families and students. Once in the classic TV series The Legend of the Condor hero, Li Yaoxiang, who plays the old urchin Joe Batten in I Grew Up Here. His story once led Victory Village. It has become one of Hong Kong's cultural landmarks. However, behind these ordinary and glorious, the building seems to be shrouded in a layer at all times. Inescapable shadow under the foundation of Victory Village. Not only are the remains of the cemetery buried, there are countless untold stories. An old man said, unworshipped bones were dug up during development, but it was landfilled by Cao due to the tight construction period. Such legends have never been confirmed, but every time the night falls, the breeze of Moth Mountain rolls down slightly. It always feels like there are faint laments in my ears. However, people who live here never have many choices. The hustle and bustle of the city let them focus on the past, day-to-day life, covering the looming unease. Every morning, the small shop downstairs opened its doors lively. The children ran to school with bags on their backs. The old people were sitting on the benches, talking to their parents. Everything in Lixianglu is normal on the surface, until that day. The bloody incident made everyone realize the story of this building. It's not as calm as it seems. Before it happens, Li Shanglu was originally an ordinary residence. Everyone who lives here, they all have their own stories and busy routines. Shijung downstairs, but it's always full of newspapers and letters. The case in the elevator is in disrepair due to age. It flickered a lot. Every night, the uncle in the duty room will guard in front of the glass window. watching residents hurry home with the dishes they just bought. Say hello to real-world friends occasionally. However, this day-to-day ordinary. But one thing is always overlooked. The details hidden in the ordinary, often the easiest to ignore. And that's where the danger begins. And you know what? This used to be a cemetery. The uncle on duty always ignores the late night, chatting with residents who missed the elevator. His voice was deep, the hoarseness of the years, although it has been rebuilt. But something remains. He stayed. Occasionally a brave young man will ask with a smile, "Uncle, don't be scary." Who believes this these days? Believe it or not, Uncle shook his head. Eyes fell on the shadows of the distant floors. Some things are best not to believe. Those who have heard this sentence usually just laughs and waves, then get into the elevator. But they didn't notice. When the uncle's voice fell, the corners of his mouth trembled slightly. Seems to want to say something, but in the end he didn't speak. And in these silent daily lives, the secret of Lixianglu is like a black cloth covered, slowly brewing some kind of indescribable breath. Maybe it's the wind from Moth Mountain that brings dropouts. Maybe it's the unspoken story of the uncle. Maybe it's just an elevator with flickering lights at night. All that makes people feel vaguely under ordinary. Something is watching them. Do you feel the wind here? It's always colder than anywhere else. One night, the young man inadvertently asked his friend, "What's so cold?" Friend smiled and waved, but pulled the scarf tighter. "Stop thinking. You get used to it after living for a long time." Will you get used to it after living for a long time? Maybe, maybe not. Because after that day, no one in Victory Village wants to mention the word habit. A horror story that has never really been told is quietly leaning on. And when he was exposed, Lixiang building, it is doomed to be unable to return to the ordinary of the past. Lixiang building to the peony bit on the 20th floor. The Li family of 3 lives in this cramped space. Father Li Xin is over 40 years old. Originally a construction site worker, fired for work error. The stress and debt of life gradually overwhelmed him. His gambler habit intensified after losing his job. Not only did he lose the only money left in the family, he often fights with his wife and daughter, 16-year-old daughter Li Ying. The painting is the only hope for the family, studying at a girls' secondary school in Kwantong North, upper middle grade. But due to my father's irascible personality, the relationship with him has been tense. My mother worked odd jobs at my father's supermarket, barely support the family. A few days before the incident, Li Ying's quarrels with her father became more frequent. Mother remembers that night. The cold silence at the dinner table. The smell of gunpowder fills the air. Li Ying tried to fight for a tuition fee, but was violently rejected by his father. Instead, accused him of not understanding the difficulties at home. The girl threw down her chopsticks in anger, shouted if you hadn't gambled all the money at home. Will I be like this? This sentence, like a knife stabbed into Li Xin's heart. 2 p.m. on the day of the incident. Mother goes to the supermarket to work overtime. Only Li Xin and Li Ying were left at home. The whole floor was silent, according to later police speculation. It's a contradictory day. Why are you always against me? Li Xin's roar broke the silence. Li Ying is standing in the living room, hands clasped. I just want a $2,000 makeup fee. You lose a lot more money every time you gamble than this. Although his voice is strong, but there is a hint of fear. Say it again. Li Xin's face turned red. approaching step by step, holding a fruit knife in his hand. In his eyes, mixed with anger and out-of-control frenzy, Li Ying realized that something was wrong. Want to run to the bedroom? But he was grabbed by Li Xin. "Dad, what are you doing? Are you crazy?" His screams echoed through the cramped room. Then the shrill screams stopped abruptly. In the next 40 minutes, Li Xin completely lost his mind. He stabbed his daughter with a knife and dragged him into the bathroom. Police later discovered the bathroom floor and walls were covered with splattered blood. There is a large area of dried blood in the trail pool. And here's what really hurts. Li Xin actually killed his daughter after brutally cut up the body. Easy. Traces of knife friction were left on the missing tiles. He cut off his daughter's head with a knife, put it in a black bag. I left home in a hurry with my brother until 6 p.m. Mom comes home from work. Push open the door. A strong smell of blood came over. He stood at the door, enter the living room with doubts. I can't help but sweep my eyes around, and there was a dead silence. No father. Late night without a daughter. He goes to the bathroom. Just opened the door. Instant pointed birth. A corpse huddled in the corner. Daughter's long-sleeved t-shirt and jeans, covered in blood. The red liquid on the floor reflects the light. The air is filled with a nasty stench. The mother went blank. Bright choked and took a few steps back. Eventually, the teacher and student fainted. Disturbed neighbors came to check. Call the police immediately after discovering the situation. Police quickly cordoned off the scene. After a preliminary investigation, it was confirmed that the deceased was 16-year-old Li Ying, and his head disappeared with his father, Li Xin. Combining neighbor testimony with family background, the police determined that Li Xin was the prime suspect. A Hong Kong-wide manhunt for Li Xin has been launched. The police focused their investigation on where he might be hiding, especially the construction sites where he used to work, and surrounding areas. However, Li Xin seemed to have vanished from the world. No trace. 2 weeks after the incident, police finally found a cave near Moth Mountain. I found Li Xin. He looked haggard, dazed eyes. The clothes were stained with mud and blood. He said nothing during the arrest. He also refused to reveal the whereabouts of his daughter's head. During the interrogation, Li Xin always shows a weird bottleneck. He confessed to murdering his daughter, but the whereabouts of the head just said something cold. He took him away. His eyes let the investigators feel a chill and stand up. As the case progresses, the police searched the perimeter of Lishong building repeatedly, but the missing head was never found. Missing head become the weirdest part of the case. The outcome of the case was Li Xin was sentenced to life imprisonment for murder, but his final confession, "But I gave this heartwarming arrow, covered with a layer of supernatural color. He looks for me every night." After the murder on the 20th floor of the Lishang building, the mood of the building suddenly changed. The original calm residence. Life becomes restless and stressful, especially the residents around the crime unit. I always feel that there is a cold atmosphere enveloped. Li family. The mother and eldest brother were in a hurry a few days after the incident. Move away. Never set foot in that blood-soaked house again. Although the police lifted the lockdown, but that unit was always empty. Some curious neighbors passed by the door. I can't help but look inside, but I feel some invisible force stop them from approaching. And here's what's even weirder. A resident claims, late at night, often hear empty rooms. the girl's muffled cry. A family who lives next door can't sleep anymore. Their pet dog, originally a lively little guy, but since the murder, the dog starts to behave abnormally. Every night, he will face the wall connected to the dark unit, makes a beep. Sometimes they even lunge towards the wall like crazy. Keep running with your claws, especially on the night of the dead's head paint. Dogs suddenly go crazy. It lasted an hour. It didn't quiet down until dawn. The owner couldn't sleep at night. I started packing the next day. Residents try various methods to obtain blood. Someone burns incense and worships Buddha. Someone asked Mr. Feng Shui to do it. Someone emptied the house of clutter, trying to get rid of any dead ends that might harbor loach. But no matter what, that sense of oppression is still there. The uncle in the duty room is an elderly man in his 60s, worked the night shift for years. To every corner of Lixiang, they're all ripe, can't be ripe anymore. He always called himself bold, never believe in ghost legends. But one night shortly after the incident, he went through something that he still doesn't dare to mention things. It was after 2 a.m. that day. The uncle is stingy, sitting on the chair in the duty room, in a daze. He suddenly felt a chill came through the glass window. He couldn't help but open his eyes. Through the glass, he saw the mailbox area downstairs, occupying the back of a girl. He was wearing a long-sleeved t-shirt and jeans, medium hair. He looks exactly like he is about 16 years old. And where he stands, it happened to be in front of the mailbox of the crime unit on the 20th floor. So late. Why is there still a little girl here? The uncle frowned and said to himself. He picked up the flashlight, pushed open the door of the duty room, heading towards the mailbox. However, when the light sweeps across the mailbox area, but nothing. The uncle stood there in a daze. The heart begins to beat violently. He remembered the girl's back, suddenly realized the clothes she wears. It was Sri Lying who showed the dress that day. The uncle returned to duty that night. A stick of incense was lit in the back of the room, mumbling to the empty hall, "Child, I don't know why you stay here, but please don't hurt me." From that day on, he no longer dared to doze off on duty. The neighbor's dog next door. It's not the only animal that behaves abnormally. Other pets in the building. It seems to be starting to look at that empty house as well. Extreme sensitivity. Some people's cats would rather hide under the sofa. I don't want to go near the window. And another parrot. Suddenly, it becomes silent. Even once thought dead by the owner, especially on the night of the victim's surprise attack. Animals on an entire floor. They seem to be stimulated by an invisible force. The neighbor's dog is the most abnormal. He kept crashing against the wall. The hoarse voice is creepy. The master tried his best to appease. It didn't work. Stop screaming. Stop screaming. The owner covers his ears, howled at the dog, but at that moment, the dog stopped abruptly, shaking all over, whimpering on the ground, staring fixedly at the wall. The other side of that wall, it's the bathroom at the crime scene. 1 month later, the night after the incident, Mr. Liang and Mrs. Liang experienced something they will never forget. An elevator terrorist incident. That night, Mr. Liang came back from get off work. Come with your wife. The neighborhood on the 19th floor of Li Sheng building plays mahjong all night. They came from the footbridge of the Lai building opposite. Walk there, go to the lobby of Lixiang building, and there was an elevator opening up. They didn't think much of it, went right in. But as soon as you enter the elevator, They realized something was wrong. The elevator lights are dimmer than usual. The reflective metal panels on the walls look unusually cold. In the corner stood a teenage girl, head down in a long-sleeved t-shirt and jeans. Mr. Liang and Mrs. Liang looked at each other. Although it feels a little strange, he didn't ask. Mr. Liang pressed the button on the 19th floor, but found that no matter how you press, the floors are not responding, and the button on the 20th floor has already been pressed. They think about going up one floor anyway. It's okay to come down. I quietly waited for the elevator to rise slowly. The atmosphere is getting colder. Mrs. Liang couldn't help but tighten her clothes, but the meaning seems to permeate the bone marrow. He touched Mr. Liang's hand lightly, but found that his hands were colder than ice cubes. "How come?" Mrs. Liang asked in a low voice, trying to hide his unease. Mr. Liang shook his head, didn't say anything, just subconsciously looking back. Glanced at the girl standing in the corner. His heart almost stopped at this sight. Metal. Only the shadows of him and Mrs. Liang were reflected on the panel. But the girl's elevator didn't stop at the 20th floor. The door slowly opened. Mrs. Lung almost pulled Mr. Liang out of the elevator. When they turned around, and the elevator was empty, Mrs. Liang never dared to recall that night again. "You still have your head down. And Mr. Liang, you start avoiding all talk about elevators." Since then, the residents of Li Sheng building began to move out one after another. Those who were left behind, I always feel like I have a pair of eyes, watching them in the dark, and he never really seemed to leave. The terror of the descending building and dissipated by the detection of the darkness. On the contrary, it becomes more and more intense as it retires over time. Although the police arrested Li Shen, but the missing deer was never found. This mystery became the most disturbing part of the case. When he sent the unit to reinvestigate, the police accidentally found a corner of the bathroom ceiling. Some unidentified handprints were found, and blood stains these handprint-thin corners. It seems to belong to a young girl, but the location is strange. They appear in ordinary people, places that cannot be constructed at all, as if something forced them there. These findings puzzled investigators. Some speculate that reason may have been central to the head, hidden above the ceiling. However, due to the passage of time and the complex floor structure, can't find it. And here's what's even creepier. Cleaning up unit staff, I have felt a piercing meaning in the house many times, especially near the bathroom. Always look up involuntarily, as if there was something hidden behind the ceiling. The interrogation took place a month later. A resident living on the 17th floor of Li Xiang building. I broke the news to the media. Creepy thing. And that night, I came home from work. Just got to the elevator. I feel cold in my back. He said that the light in the corridor was dim at that time. I can only hear my own footsteps. When he was about to press the elevator button, suddenly I feel someone watching me. He looked up. See the blurry ceiling ahead? There is a girl's head suspended. The long hair of the head hangs down in a messy manner, pale as a sheet of paper, and those empty eyes were staring at him. As if to see through him, I screamed, but in the blink of an eye, and then he disappeared. The voices of the residents trembled, remembering that scene. He still couldn't hide his fear. From that day on, I never dared to walk down the corridor alone again. As such sightings continue to occur, rumors about girls, ghosts, spread rapidly in Victory Village. Some people say The girl can be seen in the elevator at midnight. Some people say that every 2 a.m. you hear whispers from the 20th floor. Some even claim that, behind the ceiling of the crime unit, the remnants of the girl's head, waiting to be discovered. The psychological pressure of the residents has reached an extreme. Whether or not you have experienced strange things yourself, everyone's heart have planted an unease that cannot be shaken off. Some families living near the crime unit, it's hard to get rid of the shadow of fear, even after moving away. Ligia's mother is in class. He gave a brief interview. She looked gaunt, hoarse voice. I always feel like he's still there. He hates us. Hate that I didn't protect him well. There was deep guilt in her mother's eyes. He repeatedly mentioned, in the days I left, I often dream of my daughter covered in blood, standing in front of his bed. Long-term vision. Why didn't you save me? This is the girl in her dream. The only thing she said. Other residents are also unable to escape the torment of the soul. An aunt who lives on the 19th floor. I often feel pressured at home for no reason. It's as if something is staring at you. You dare not look up, dare not look in the mirror. But there he was. People try to comfort themselves with reason, but the more that invisible gaze lingers. The horrific nature of the case and paranormal rumors attracted countless media attention. The headlines were incendiary. Julong Victory Village, haunted house. The daughter is still missing after stealing the road. After that, the cemetery really haunted. Every report exposes the case at the same time. Pushed Xingli Village into the whirlpool of public opinion in Yin Village. TV shows scramble to interview the damned live fire. Paranormal explorers bring equipment, dive into Lixiang building late at night, trying to search for paranormal phenomena. The hype not only makes things more remote, also let the residents of Victory Village live. Households are plunged deeper into fear. Residents are moving in. More and more empty units. The originally lively building area has become deserted and depressed. We are not afraid of ghosts. Fear of people's hearts. One of the displaced residents told reporters. People are now watching Victory. It's like watching a horror movie in the background. Who would want to stay here? As fear spreads, Victory Village Chang, for a place that people avoid. In the 20th floor of Lixiang building, it has become a scenic spot that no one dares to approach. Although some people have tried to do it in a scientific way, explain it all, but the strange atmosphere could not be dispelled. What is he looking for? This question is whether the residents, police, or media can't answer. However, the answer to this question, it seems to be hidden behind the closed door of Lixiang building, waiting for the day to be revealed. Case. As the dust settled on the surface of Li Xin's back, but where the investment is going remains a mystery. During multiple police interrogations, Li Xin has always been silent about the whereabouts of the investment. Only when asked once, he murmured a creepy sentence. He was taken away. He won't let me go. A police officer handling the case, accidentally, from Li Xin's public friends, heard some nasty rumors. It turns out that Li Xin is honest, in addition to gambling. Also superstitious to some warlocks. Before the crime, he was like a conjurer, seeking ways to get rich quickly. The warlock told him, it has to be blood, cast with the input of a loved one. Summon wealth. Memories of Li Xin's co-workers. Late one night after the incident, I once saw Li Xin with a black bag go to an underground casino, and that casino is where the lodging rooms are located. Police tracking. They found the casino empty. The whereabouts of the accommodation room could not be traced back. It is said that Lee is following the current guidelines. Offer your daughter's head as a sacrifice. But the spell not only failed to bring wealth, instead, it plunged him into a deeper nightmare. His mental breakdown gradually. It was like seeing him everywhere, standing at the table, kneel on the altar, even lingering in his dreams. The night the spell failed, Li Shen escaped into the cave of Moth Mountain. He mentioned in the transcript that I had turned him in. Go out, but he still won't go. He looks at me every night, in exchange for his life. This all seems to confirm. Li Ying's ghost has not dissipated. He was determined to find his own head, and those sinners who participated in the messenger. Li Ying's ghost appears frequently. It doesn't seem to be purely for revenge. Whether it is the eyewitness of the security uncle, or the girl without a shadow in the elevator, all paranormal events are sending a message. He wants the truth to be revealed. His wandering, not only because of the cruel end of life, more to expose the father and the warlock, that evil deal. He needs to let everyone know. I am not just a murdered victim. It's a tool that's being used. His ghost lingers at the scene of Afa. It seems to be silently complaining. It's not my destiny. More chilling things. The thing most mentioned by witnesses was the look in his eyes. He looks at you. That look seems to ask, "Will you help me?" a resident once described. This makes people who live in small buildings feel extreme pressure. They were awakened by those eyes when they grew up, in every dream, with a hint that cannot be ignored. He doesn't want revenge, but to make all involved pay the price. Let those who cover up the truth repent, under the cover of fear and strange phenomena. The residents of Lixianglu gradually discovered a common denominator. Many people begin to dream of the same scene over and over again. In the dream, the girl is standing in a rotten place, holding a black bag covered in blood. Her eyes were cold and determined. Wave to them slowly. As the dream deepens, residents find themselves approaching a location, abandoned storage room downstairs. Several residents tried to find out. They gathered their courage and went to the storage room, but found the door locked with chains. Can't enter. And on their way back, I heard a clear whisper at the same time. The night I went to see him, the residents began to believe Li Ying's head may be buried in a storage room. But what's even scarier is when a young man attempts this, when entering the storage room, but found that the lock had long been broken, and there's nothing behind the door, just wet ground and a chilly wind. Did he never leave? That's everybody's question. Although everyone is in danger, Li Ying's ghost has been trying to lead people to his head, but the message he really wanted to convey, but always confusing. Some say his head has been turned over. Some say the tree took him to another country, and more people think his head is still somewhere in Victory Village, waiting quietly to be discovered. Horrible dream? Unexplained phenomenon? Wandering soul? Let Victory Village become a veritable Yin village, and the residents of Lijiang Building are gradually moving away. The building emptied out. Only the occasional hell from the dark night remains, and the faint marks on the ceiling. Finally, Li Xuanglu becomes a place that cannot escape the shadow. People not only reflect, what is causing this? The consequences of domestic violence. It's human greed, or is it a combination of superstition and ignorance? Huo Zuyu and Li Ying's story is more than just a tragedy. It's an indictment of the darkness deep within the human heart. If he is still searching for the head, Will he find? If he is looking for sinners, will he ever stop? These questions, it always lingers in the hearts of the people in Banli Shingli village. Victory Village at midnight. The elevator on the 20th floor is often seen still running, and every time it stops, on the reflective panel in the elevator, only a headless shadow stood in the corner. He may never have left, and his reincarnation, that's them, destiny. The story of Victory Village begins with a bloody murder. Blood gradually becomes about human nature, deep reflection on destiny and social issues. Zero's death was the extreme result of a broken family. It is a crazy continuation of the violence and greed of his father, Li Xin. The seeds of violence have long been sown in the family, rooted and sprouted in repeated insults and punches, until the worst fruit finally blooms. Is his ghost really on file? It may not matter, but here's the thing. His life reflects countless overlooked truths. Those who are victims of violence, who are denied a voice, those who are exploited in greed and superstition, those trust and love that have been ruthlessly abandoned. As the residents say, we are not afraid of ghosts. Fear of people's hearts. This story is not just a supernatural legend, it's an omen of human nature. The vortex of domestic violence, the indifference and helplessness of society, the allure and corruption of money. Together they made a web, trapped everyone. Li Ying, Li Xin, even the entire Victory Village. As time goes by, the paranormal legend about Li Shanglu is spreading more and more widely. People start to reflect. Are these horrific phenomena real? Or the residents? Psychological cues generated in chronic fear. Is the girl's ghost really searching for the head? Or the guilt that people can't let go of? Let his shadow album linger in their hearts. Girl's revenge. Those who claim to have witnessed the girl's back. The description is strikingly similar, even wearing, all consistent with the clothes on the day of the crime. Is this a coincidence? Is it collective psychology? If he's really looking for the head, does that mean he never found peace? The whereabouts of the head. Some people believe that the head has long been burned. Some people think he is hidden in the example, somewhere unknown in the building. But everyone who tries to find out, whether it's a disaster or a paranormal explorer, they all stop in fear. Where did the investment go? This mystery may forever lie dormant in darkness. The truth about strange phenomena. Late night elevator, blood on the ceiling, calling in a dream. These phenomena are truly displays of supernatural power, or is it the visualization of psychological shadows? Science cannot explain, faith can't appease. People can only be on the verge of true and false, just add a few tricks. Although many years have passed since the murder, descending, the story of the prison has never been remembered. Disappeared, he became a Hong Kong folk, one of the most famous urban legends. The name of Victory Village is getting louder and louder because of the village, especially the horror of the 20th floor of Li Shang building, become a forbidden area in the hearts of many timid people. The current Li Shanglu has been deserted. The unit on the 20th floor has been unoccupied for many years. The speculators who had tried to buy the unit, whether it is for low housing prices, curiosity dies. Finally, after hearing strange noises in the middle of the night, check out in a hurry. Elevator button on the 20th floor. It was demolished after years of disrepair, but it is said that every midnight, someone always sees the elevator door open. It's empty, but it seems that there is still a faint cold wind blowing out from inside. When people who live nearby talk about Lixiang building, will unconsciously lower their voices, as if afraid of alarming something. They warned outsiders not to pass there at night. Don't even press the button on the 20th floor when the night is still. Imagine yourself walking into an elevator alone. Do you think of the story of Lixiang Tower? When you accidentally wear one, the reflection of the elevator wall, will you suddenly feel there seems to be a figure behind? And when your finger hovers over the button on the 20th floor, will you hesitate for a moment? They went up one more floor. Avoid that. A place full of legends. This is the story of Lijiang Tower, the most disturbing place. It's a horror legend that has nothing to do with itself, but in people's hearts, planted a seed of fear. He reminds us, the real horror is not in the legend itself. It lies in the deep weakness and sin of human nature. Finally, when you face the night alone, when faced with a choice, maybe you can't help but ask yourself, if the elevator door is open, there was only one girl inside, standing in the corner with his head down. What do you do? The look in her eyes. Will I meet your gaze in the dark? The corners of her mouth. Will it slowly emerge with a touch of if not? His smile may not have left him. He's just waiting for you.